Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is a 12 cast-ons making vlog, and if you happen to be new to the channel and you're interested in finding out about my 12 cast-ons adventures, you'll find some playlists which explain the 12 cast-ons. There'll be lots of videos around that if you are interested in finding things out, but in a nutshell, each year I cast on 12 new projects to hopefully set myself up for my coming weeks, months, years worth of making. And over the last couple of years, in addition to doing my initial daily vlogs where I chart the progress of the actual cast on of each project, I've also been making vlogs which follow me through my knitting adventure or crochet adventure, where I take the projects from start to finish. This is one of those vlogs. And as I'm recording this, it is the 1st of March 2024. I have just done my first dice rolling game of the year of 2024 to pick my projects for the coming weeks for the month of March. In addition to the dice rolling, I've also been getting a community member to pick a project for me to work on. And this month, the lovely Fiona Fee has picked the Garter Marler Cardigan for me to work on. And so I cast that on as part of our 12 cast-ons adventures this year. I'm keeping my Garter Marler, or at least all the yarn for it, in one of my Emma Ball project bags. Here is the progress that I made on day one of the cast-on. This is a pattern by Stephen West. I am knitting mine by holding 2 strands of fingering weight held together as suggested in the pattern. I think you could probably also get away with using lots of double knit scraps if you wanted to, or worsted weight scraps. I've sorted out a whole bunch of different leftovers and bits and pieces from my yarn stash. I am planning to, if all goes well, hold 1 strand of something a bit more neutral. So I've got a bag of lots of sort of browns and greys and those sort of colours, along with some brighter yarns. So the other strand will be something from the sort of bag of brighter yarns, and a lot of those yarns that I've picked out are more autumnal colours, so reds, yellows, oranges, greens, that kind of thing. We are heading out on an adventure. It's actually going to be quite a busy month for me adventure wise in March. I usually lead quite a quiet life, but I've got a few things planned this month. But this weekend in particular, we are heading down to the Dorset coast here in the UK, to Lyme Regis more specifically, and we are going to be spending a lovely weekend with, when I say we, me and my partner James will be spending a weekend with a couple of our dear friends. The first weekend in March every year we spend together with our friends. So I'm going to be taking my Garter Marler project with me. I feel like a little bit of garter stitch with some increased rows should be something that I can manage to do in company while we're hanging out and chatting and catching up. Hopefully, here follows some footage of my weekend away and my Garter Marler knitting. Hello lovely friends, it is the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. as I am recording this section of video. I had hoped to maybe be able to check in a little bit before now to do like a mid-month update on where I managed to get to with my Garter Marler project, but it didn't happen. I think the last time I checked in was right back at the beginning of March, where we were about to head off for a lovely weekend in Lyme Regis. Unfortunately, our month has been a little bit up and down since then. We had a lovely weekend away. We are dealing with some family issues at the moment, which meant that the rest of our month did not go to plan. We've been backwards and forwards up to Yorkshire to give some help and support to some family members who need it. I haven't had time to check in, but I have been working on and off on my Garter Marler project, and although I haven't quite managed to get as much as I'd hoped to done on the project, I have got to the point where I have split for the sleeves. So I've managed to add maybe 7 or 8 inches to this project. If I share with you, the top of the marker here where the sort of pin is hanging from is where I was when I picked this up at the beginning of the month, and you can see I've knit down here. And if I flip round to the front, please ignore all the ends you can see hanging out on the inside of the cardigan. But yeah, I have just split for the sleeves here, and I've knit maybe an inch or so down from that sleeve split, not too far. But the project is coming along and it's been such a joy to work on. Let me try and hold this up so you can see where I'm at with my sort of colour progressions and things. It's time to put this away for who knows how long, several weeks at least, which I'm a little bit sad about because this has been quite a nice easy knit. It's fun to play with the colours, to kind of marl the colours together and pick things out of my bag of scraps that I've set aside for this project. It's quite a nice, simple, soothing knit, just garter stitch backwards and forwards. But it is time to move on to some new projects. I've just rolled the dice for April and I haven't been able to fit the Garter Marler in, which is fine. I'm ready to move on to other things now, and we shall come back to this at some point in the future. I think when I do come back to this project, I will probably start working on the sleeves. I think it will be quite nice to get the sleeves out of the way before I tackle the rest of the body on this project. It's going to be really hard because of the sort of scrappy nature of this to get the body and the sleeves matching, because I'm working with sort of smallish scraps. So I'm not going to attempt that at all. But what I think I might attempt is to get the sleeves somewhat matching. We'll see how that goes. I haven't quite figured out in my head whether that's definitely the approach that I want to take, but that's what I'm ruminating on at the moment. I guess I will actually make that decision whenever I come back to this project. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when the next time I get to check in for this project will be. Hello friends, welcome to September 2024. It's the 1st of September. I am very excited to be able to get back to my Garter Marler project. I recently rolled the dice to set my September making priorities, and I was determined to try and fit this project in. I've just been thinking about it a lot over the last few weeks, and I don't know if it's because we're sort of heading towards autumn now here in the Northern Hemisphere, and I've picked out a lot of yellows and oranges and reds and greens for my Garter Marler. So I'm not sure if it's that. I don't know if it's that I need the comfort of some squishy garter stitch, or if I'm just feeling inspired, because at this point in time I'm also trying to work through a lot of my fingering weight or sock weight scraps as part of our scrappy make along. Maybe all three of those factors have led me to have been really thinking about this project a lot over the last few weeks. So yeah, I'm happy that I've managed to squeeze it in. I've got all of my yarn sat here in one of my Emma Ball project bags. This was a beautiful gift to me from my lovely friend Jen, and I do actually sell these Emma Ball bags in the shop. A little plug for my little YarnNYarns website, which you'll find linked below the video. I'm excited to see how far I'm going to get with that project. I've literally just split for the body and the sleeves, so I'm going to work a couple more inches I think on the body, and then I think I might switch to the sleeves, because it's always a little bit more of a faff when you're trying to knit the sleeves at the end when you've already got the bulk of the body on a project. So yeah, I think I might do a few more rounds on the body just to get that established and then switch over to the sleeves. Now I am going to be working on 2 sweater projects this month, so I'm going to be alternating. I'm going to work for a week on the Garter Marler. It's a Sunday as I'm recording this, so next Sunday I'll switch over to my other sweater project that I'm working on this month, and then work on that for a week, and then I'll go back to Garter Marler for a week. Yeah, can you tell I'm excited? I'm really looking forward to working on this project, so I need to stop waffling and get knitting.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane, and as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise.
So yesterday I did add, I've got my project bag on the floor because why would it be in front of me when I need it? Yesterday I did add a couple of inches to the body of my Garter Marler. I'm going to show you where the sort of armhole split is, so you can see I've added a good amount there. I was able to sit and work a few hours on and off throughout the day. Nice relaxing Sunday. So I'm now going to go back and start working on the sleeves. I'm not intending to try and match the body and the sleeves because way madness lies, but I do think I'm going to try and match the sleeves somewhat. I'm not sure if I've mentioned earlier on in this video, it's been quite a few months, as you know, since I've worked on this project, and I haven't rewatched my previous clips yet to know what I've said and what I haven't. But I'm trying to hold one skein of something that's relatively neutral with my colours. I've got a couple of larger sort of leftovers in my stash here, and I think I'm going to split these in half and start working my sleeves with this. So this one, although it is multicoloured, I believe this might have been a Regia yarn. It is multicoloured, but I think when you hold it back it does act as a neutral. So I'm going to hold one strand of that and one strand of this, which is a crazy Zauber ball. So I'm going to weigh these, split them in half, and then just see how far I can get on each sleeve with these. I know this is not going to make 2 full sleeves, but this is my plan basically, is to take the yarns that I'm going to use, split them in half and work the sleeves. So the sleeves are somewhat matchy. I've still got almost a whole week to work on this before I swap out to another project for a week.
And now there's something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy we go, easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the...
It's Thursday late afternoon. I've got a couple more days working on my Garter Marler this week before I swap it out for another project, but I thought I would just check in. I have been knitting these sleeves concurrently, try and work through the yarns that I divided up the other day. As soon as I divided the yarns, I realised that the crazy Zauber ball had such a long pattern repeat, there was no way that these sleeves were going to look as matching as I'd hoped, but I think you can still tell that they're sort of from the same yarn, so I'm not overly worrying about that. I've managed to knit these down. Let me just try and slip this on if I can. It's probably going to be really awkward, but I'm almost, well, I'm pretty much at elbow point on the 2 sleeves. Don't know if you can hear that, but we're in the middle of a rainstorm. The rain's really starting to come down outside, so I hope that's not too distracting. I love the sound of the rain on the roof. Brought up my next quantity of yarn that I'm going to divide up. I've got this one in my bag of leftovers, and again it sort of has all of the colours that I'm using. It's been quite nice not to have to swap out the yarn so often on these sleeves because it's a shorter circumference. Using a slightly larger leftover and not having to worry about changing out the yarns has been quite nice. So I'm hoping, given that my last ball got me to pretty much elbow length, I'm hoping this will take me all the way to the bottom of the sleeve. The pattern sleeves do have quite a big rib on the bottom, about 3 inches I think the pattern recommends, and there's a stitch count that I'm trying to work towards. I'm slowly decreasing the stitches on the sleeve. I think the pattern has you decrease every 10 or so rows. If I do that, the sleeves will be way too long for me before I get to the recommended stitch count as you sort of hit that cuff point. So I'm going to have to start picking up my increases and do them a little bit more frequently, which it does suggest in the pattern. So yeah, I'm hoping that I will be able to get at least one sleeve to the cuff point before the end of this week, before I swap it out. I think I will be able to, because I've got tonight, tomorrow night, and then Saturday, which I do a lot of my sort of crafting time happens at the weekend. It's Sunday, so it's time for me to switch over my projects. So I thought I would just quickly catch you up before I put this away, and I'm happy to say that I have managed to get these sleeves to the point where I think the rib needs to go in. The pattern says to stop the sleeves 3 inches before they're the length that you want to add the rib. I've stopped them a little bit before that because this is all superwash merino nylon yarn, which I know is going to have a tendency to stretch a little bit. And obviously the garter stitch has a little bit of stretch to it as well, so I don't want to make these sleeves too long, because I've done that lots of times in the past where I've knit to what I think the length should be and then they stretch in the wash. So I'm thinking worst case scenario, if they don't stretch, then I will be able to add a little bit more ribbing on at the end. Both of the sleeves to that point. And I also last night added a few more rows to the body, not that many because they're long rows, but shall I try this on? Yeah, let me just pop it on so you can see the progress I've made so far. It's a little bit caught up around the back because it's still on the cord obviously, but this is where I have knit the sleeves to. And I've got, oh, there we go. Well, that's the best idea, isn't it? I've just taken it out of the needle holders. I've knit down a few inches under the arms. I've got plenty to go yet. But next time, put my head back in the shot. Next time I come back to this, I'm going to add my ribbing and of course start working on the body. Oh, I can't quite believe that a week has passed for me. So I'm going to be back to working on my Garter Marler for the next week. It's actually going to be slightly more than a week. Next weekend I'm going away for a weekend with a lovely group of my friends, and I just can't wait, can't wait. I'll be going away Friday to Monday, and obviously Sunday has been my project swap over, but also the Garter Marler is going to be perfect to work on when in company, because it's just backwards and forwards garter stitch. My aim for the next few evenings till I get to the weekend is to put the cuffs on the sleeves at least. I think I should be able to do that no problem, and hopefully I'll get my needles switched onto the main body of the sweater, maybe even add an inch or two before the weekend as well. We shall see what happens, see how much knitting time I get, and of course I will keep you updated.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air.
Hey friends, it's Friday and I am super excited because I'm heading off for a weekend of knitting fun with some of my dearest friends. I thought before I leave for the journey to take me where we're staying for the weekend, I would do a quick check-in on this project. So I have managed to work on this pretty much every day this week, which has been quite nice. Just trying to unravel it from the bag. So I did of course add the cuffs to the sleeve. It has a really cute I-cord bind off detail. I love that. And I've been working on the body as well. So I'm honestly not entirely sure where I was on the body last time I showed you, but I've probably added a couple of inches or so on the body. I'm getting to the point now where I'm getting a bit stuck for red yarn. I'm trying to hold one neutral-ish strand of yarn, so something like grey or brown. Occasionally I've used some green as well, and other bits and pieces. You saw what I used in the sleeve, with something a bit brighter, a bit more colourful. And I'm kind of trying to keep to a colour sequence so that although the sweater is all sorts of bright colours and fun, I'm kind of going red, orange, yellow, and then either a bit of green or a bit of purple, just to try and sort of make this somewhat harmonious. I mean, you can see there's loads of different colours in here, so it's not really harmonious as such, but yeah, I'm trying to keep to that kind of colour progression. But I'm getting really short on red yarn and I've still got, I think, at least 6 or 7 inches to knit down on the body. So I have asked the lovely friends that I'm going away with whether they would be able to raid their scraps for me if they had any red yarn, and I know at least one person has put a picture in our little group chat of some red yarns that she's going to bring for me, so that's amazing. I'm feeling a little bit happier about this now because I was a bit worried I might have to veer off my sort of colour order and make the last few inches without any red, but I won't have to do that now, which is great. I'm only taking this project plus a couple of sock projects, so I'm hoping to maybe get to the bottom ribbing of this. It's still a lot of knitting, but there should be a lot of knitting time, so we shall see, we shall see.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy, we go easy.
Hey friends, so I'm back from my weekend away and I'm happy to report that I have, I think, reached the point on my Garter Marler where I'm going to be adding the ribbing at the bottom of the sweater. I say I think because I have reached the length from the underarm. Oops, I've got yarn tangled all around this. So from the underarm to where I am on my needles, I've reached the recommended length in the pattern. What I just want to do before I decide to add the rib is just to pop this back onto my longer needle, just give it a try on to see where it's sort of landing on my body, and if it's about where I think I want this to be, then obviously I'm going to add the ribbing. If maybe it's a little bit shorter, I think I will possibly add the ribbing as well, because as I've already mentioned a couple of times in this video, I think there's going to be a lot of stretch in this cardigan, particularly after I have washed and blocked it. But I should, if I'm following my own rules for September, be swapping my projects out now and be working on the Raya for a week. However, I feel like I am so close on this project now. Hopefully it's either, you know, an inch or two and then a couple of inches of ribbing and the button band to go, or it's just the ribbing and the button band. If I put this away now, there's no telling when I might get it back out again. So I feel like I'm going to just push through and hope that in the next week, before the end of the month rolls around, I can actually get this project finished. So I've added a couple of inches to the body, and then I did the ribbing on the bottom, and now I'm just working on the button bands. And this is the final button band, but I'm playing a little bit of yarn chicken with the 2 yarns that I've been using. This one, I've only got this teeny tiny little amount to go, and I've got to work a whole I-cord bind off. I managed to lose the yarn chicken with just 4 or 5 stitches left. Gonna have to add a little nugget, but thankfully, because it is just a few stitches, it shouldn't notice too much. There we go, it's fine. Just a couple of orange stitches at the end of the row. You'd never know the difference, right? Been mostly weaving in my ends as I've gone along, but there's a few left to do before this cardigan is finished. Then I just need to add the buttons. Well, what do you know? Ta-da! I have a finished Garter Marler, and I am happy to report it is properly finished, I think. All of the ends that I've managed to spot have been woven in. There were a lot of ends to deal with, although I did mostly use the clasp weft join, I think that's what it's called. So a lot of my ends just needed trimming rather than sewing in, but there are a few that needed sewing in. I think I've caught the majority of them, but there were a lot of ends, and obviously on this multicoloured cardigan, sometimes it was hard to spot the ends, so hopefully they're all woven in. It's my excuse in case you spot any that haven't been done as I'm talking about this. And buttons are sewn on as well. I will try and get a shot of, like a full shot of the cardigan on, but my buttons are actually several different colours. I've got two orange ones because orange is the best, but then I've also got a pink, a yellow and a blue. Full confession, it's been about a month since I cast this off, and it's taken me about that long to find some buttons and sew them on. I bought the buttons about 2 weeks ago. I popped into Cardiff, which is obviously the capital city of Wales, and I live 10 minutes on the train from Cardiff. So I popped into the market, and there's a really small knitting stall on the market, and she's got such a massive selection of buttons, it's unreal. So yeah, I popped in and managed to find the perfect buttons for my cardigan. I didn't have anything in my button stash that I wanted to use for this, so yeah, I was really happy about that. Done. I couldn't be happier with this. It used about 800 or 900 grams of yarn in the end. I think it was about 800 grams of yarn. I'm not sure exactly what size I made. I usually go for something between 50 and 56 inch bust, depending on how much positive ease I want to knit into my cardigan. So yeah, be around that kind of sizing. I don't know, I'm not very good at record keeping like that, you know me by now. The sleeves, after blocking, turned out to be the perfect length, which I'm so happy about because I was really worried that the garter stitch and the superwash yarn would stretch to the point where they would become ridiculous, because that happens to me quite often on sleeves. But yeah, I stopped in plenty of time. I managed to match my top ribbing, my sleeve ribbing, and the bottom ribbing using the same two yarns. I had quite a large rainbow left over, and it spiraled really nicely on those sleeve cuffs. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough of that same yarn combination to finish the front button bands. I used the same brown that I used in the rest of the button bands, but I had to find another sort of rainbow skein, which isn't quite as bright, but I managed to get both of the button bands out of that. And as you just saw, I lost yarn chicken on the very last few stitches, which was, well, you know, no one's really gonna know. You and me will know, but I don't think anyone else will spot it. So yeah, couldn't be happier. And relatively speaking, this was actually a really fast knit. Fingering weight held double is, I think, equivalent to about a worsted weight yarn, so or a thicker DK weight yarn. So knits up fairly quickly compared to a lot of the other projects where my preference is usually to work with 4-ply. I just love that weight of yarn, but a me-size garment in 4-ply yarn just takes forever and a day. So yeah, it was quite nice to have this one done in a relatively short period of time. I mean, still a lot of work, still many hours of knitting, but yeah, I worked on it in March and worked on it in September, so a couple of months worth of work, and it was done, which is great. I realised as I was going through that this project totally counts for the YarnNYarns scrap make along. Works in progress are welcome. If you're new to the channel, for the last couple of months I have set myself a little goal to try and work through some of my leftover yarns, leftover scraps, mini skeins from previous projects, and works in progress are completely welcome in that make along, and this one totally counts because it was all made from leftovers, my leftover basket. So is there anything nicer than that feeling of using bits and pieces to make a whole brand new project? I don't think so. I can highly recommend this pattern. I know a couple of you cast them on for your 12 cast-ons, and a couple of my friends have recently started them as well. So it's a great stash busting / use up your mini skeins project. I don't think there's anything else to say really. I'm going to live in this, I think, over the coming months. So yes, I shall pop in a couple of shots at the end, hopefully, of the finished garment. I'll try and get it hanging up, and then also I'll try and re-angle my camera and show you it, a full shot of me wearing it. The Garter Marler is done. One of my 12 cast-ons 2024 is done. Which actually is a really nice feeling, because I haven't actually finished many of my 12 cast-ons this year, so it's nice to have one off the needles. Really nice. Thank you so much for following along my Garter Marler adventures. I hope you have enjoyed the video. As always, please let me know in the comments below what you've been working on, what you've finished recently. Are you tempted to knit a Garter Marler? Are you working on scrappy projects? Just let's chat all of the things in the comments below. I love to hear from you, to be inspired by what you're making. I will of course be back again soon here on the channel with some more making content, so I hope you will join me for the next video. But until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some other things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.
If I wrote you a song, if I got every word perfectly weighted on a thin piece of paper, would it make any difference? Would it change for the better? If I wrote you a poem, if I posted a letter?